Well, hi, everybody. It's Joe Cioffi here, and it's Sunday afternoon, and it's time to prep the Sunday dinner, and it's going to be roast chicken. Now, here's the thing about roasting chicken. Of course, you can buy a roasted chicken in a supermarket. The problem is, except for Costco's, the rotisserie chickens you buy in the supermarket are horribly overcooked, and by the time you get them, they're so dry they're almost inedible that you can't even eat them. So I'm just going to show you, or just at least suggest, if you're going to do roasted chicken, here's the thing. You want to get the chicken out of the oven before that little thermometer pops. Now, this particular chicken doesn't have one of those thermometers. If you wait until the thermometer pops, by the time you're done with the chicken resting after it's out of the oven, the breast meat is going to be bone dry. And the reason for that is that what you don't realize is when you have something sitting in the oven for an hour and a half at 350, 375, or 400 degrees, when you take it out of the oven, it continues to cook for another 20 or 30 minutes or so. So if you can get it out of the oven before that little thermometer pops up, you're going to rest it, put it on the top of your stove or on the countertop and let it rest for about 30 or 40 minutes before you carve it. Then the inside temperature will get up to about 170 on the breast meat, and it will be very, very juicy. And that's another thing you don't want to do is when you take it out of the oven, you don't want to start carving it right away. It needs to rest for at least 20 or 30 minutes before you do so. And as I mentioned yesterday, I keep things really simple. I'm also going to be doing baked potatoes with this. Very easy. We have curry butter, of course. And now as far as seasonings are concerned, we have the granulated garlic. We have paprika. We are also going to need, where's my coarse kosher salt? Okay, very important. And I've got some red wine. So what you can do first off is we're going to get the cork out of the wine bottle, and we're going to pour ourselves. You're going to pour 2 glasses of wine. Okay, there you go. So we got that done. And now what you're going to do is you're going to season the chicken. And I tend to I'm very liberal with, this is not a political statement, as opposed to being conservative with your spices, okay? I use granulated garlic, okay? You want to get it all in there. You're going to do both sides, top and bottom, and paprika. And look, everybody's got their favorite spices. And you can improvise this after, you've done it the first time. If this is the first time you're attempting a roasted chicken. I know this looks like a lot, but you'd be surprised how much of this actually winds up just bleeding off. Coarse kosher salt. That helps to the coarseness of the salt. It's like putting salt on a sidewalk that's snow covered. It really helps to tenderize the meat. Okay? And then... And this is something that I like to do. Now, hang on one second here, because I got to get myself a sharp steak knife. So what I'd like to do is, right here, underneath the skin, just kind of cut open a little slot there on both sides. And what we're going to do is you're going to take some butter, some of the curry butter, which we're gonna cut. Right, hang on, I'm trying to hold the camera here with one hand. It's a little difficult, and trying to do all this with the other hand. Meaning paprika on the butter, that's life. So. By the way, while all this is happening, have the help preheat your Viking oven if you're socially distancing from your help, which is quite possible. You hit the start button. Usually, you'll hit bake and the start button, and usually most ovens go automatically to 350. I like to cook the chicken at least 375, and everybody's oven is different. Some ovens cook are hotter, some are less hot. They may not be calibrated correctly, but I kind of go with 375. So what I do is I take a couple of slices of butter, and I'm going to, let's see, I lost this camera here somehow. I guess I can't. So you're going to just slide this slice of butter underneath the skin so that it's over the breast meat. Okay, so just slide it in there, and you're going to do one on each side. A little bit on each side. There's no set rule as to how much butter you should or shouldn't use. I mean, you don't want to go too crazy because then it gets greasy. But on the other hand, that butter flavor is really good. Now, what I don't have, because I didn't pick any of this up yesterday, there's your second slice going all the way in. So that really, gets that butter flavor inside. What I don't have, and this is something that you can do if you have some rosemary and sage. I particularly am a big fan of sage, as I love that flavor. So you could have those leaves. If you can get them fresh, you can put some around. If you're going to put rosemary, I would just suggest you be very careful with it. If you use too much, it can leave you with a bit of a soapy taste, and you don't really want to do that. Also, if you do use rosemary or sage, just stick a few leaves underneath the skin here with the butter, so you get that flavor inside the chicken. So at this point, take a 1 glass of wine. Okay, take a drink. You're going to do the backside, which I haven't done yet. With your second glass of wine, you're going to just pour it into the bottom of the pan. If you get a little bit on the chicken, that's fine. You can even pour it over the chicken if you'd like. There you go. So you pour your second glass of red wine into the bottom of the pan. And, this is what happens sometimes. You get when you do that, you do wind up, if you put it on top of the chicken, you do wind up losing some of the spices, but that's fine. That's why you season liberally. Okay, so this will be all ready to go in our 375 degree oven when it gets to that temperature. There we go. Had to start it again because I didn't do it right. So it's all set. Your chicken's ready to go in the oven. The baked potatoes, just take a fork, stab it a few times, punch a couple of holes in the potatoes, and all you're going to do is just throw these in the oven on the rack. And these are small potatoes. They should be done around the same time as the chicken is. If you want to be safe, you can always put the potatoes in first and then come back to the chicken later. At this point, you should take another sip of wine. And you're all set. Now remember, if you've got, time it roughly at about 20 minutes a pound. So if you have a 5-pound chicken going in there, you should look at it. It should take you about an hour and a half, hour and 35 minutes. If the outside you want it to get nice and brown, and the skin getting on the crispy side. If you can catch it time-wise, if you keep an eye on it, keep an eye and see if the thermometer pops. If after about an hour and a half or so, again, based on about 20 minutes, roughly 20 minutes a pound, a 5-pound chicken would be an hour and 40 minutes. So let's round it off to an hour and 30. Because you're cooking that would be for 350, so you're cooking at 375. So after about an hour and a half, take a look at it. If you see that the thing hasn't popped yet, just keep an eye on it. It's probably going to pop shortly. You want to get the chicken out of the oven. Make sure you rest it at the top. Let's take it out, put it on the countertop of the stove. It needs to rest at room temperature for at least 30 minutes before you start cutting it. That'll keep all the juices in there. If you want, you can, after about 45 minutes or so, if you want to go in the oven and you want to baste it a little bit, you certainly can do that. It's not necessary, but if you want to do it, by all means, go ahead. By the way, with the wine on the bottom, when it's done, you have yourself a nice little base for a bit of a gravy. If you want to make it, you can just put it on the top of the stove, the pan on the top of the stove, turn the burners on, and boil the alcohol off, the remaining alcohol off, and reduce it, or add a little more wine and reduce it down, and you got yourself a nice little easy wine reduction sauce that you can add to the chicken. All right, so that's our Sunday dinner. We'll see what it looks like when it comes out, and we'll post a few pictures on it. And thanks for being here. I hope your day is going well, and we'll see what the chef has on his on the menu for tomorrow.